All right, so imagine this for a second, you hop out of wherever you are, phone in hand, you call a cab, and moments later, boom, a car pulls up. But here's the catch, no driver. Yeah, no one behind the wheel, just you, an empty driver's sight, and a whole bunch of what just happens going through your mind. Well, that's the future Tesla's teasing us with, this wild new robotaxi, the Cybercab. Now, they're not the only ones gunning for a driverless world, are they? Today's deep dive, we're hitching a ride with Nvidia. Now, you might know them for gaming, but these guys, they're becoming the brains behind this whole autonomous revolution. So, expert speaker, you're a resident expert. Most people, they hear Nvidia, they think graphics cards, gaming, right? So, what's the connection to these self-driving robotaxis?
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people associate NVIDIA with those powerful graphics cards that make our games look so amazing. But what's really cool is how that technology is now being used to power the future of driving. See, self-driving systems, they rely heavily on artificial intelligence, AI. Basically, AI is giving computers the ability to learn to make decisions, kind of like how we do. But the difference is, they're processing mountains of information instantly. NVIDIA's DRIVE platforms, specifically their DRIVE, Thor, and Orin systems, think of those as the brains of these robotaxis. They take in massive amounts of data every second from all those sensors, cameras, navigation systems, and they use that data to make those split-second decisions, steering, braking, avoiding obstacles, all that stuff.
So, just to be clear, NVIDIA, they're not building the cars themselves. They're creating the brains, the thinking, reacting part of the car. What makes their tech so special in this? I mean, it's a pretty competitive field, right?
Right, so two main things. First off, the processing power, it's insane. And then there's the flexibility they offer. Let's take the DRIVE Orin platform, for example, right? This thing can handle 254 trillion operations per second.
254 trillion. That's mind-boggling.
It is. It's like having a supercomputer specifically for driving under the hood. It can analyze data from tons of sensors, make navigation calls, even control things like your in-car entertainment all at the same time. And importantly, it does all this while still making sure you have a safe, smooth ride.
It's incredible.
And then the flexibility comes in because, you've got companies just dipping their toes into the autonomous world. NVIDIA has systems that fit their needs, their budget. They can start smaller. And then as they grow, as their tech gets better, they can easily upgrade, scale up to a more powerful system. Something like the DRIVE, which is designed for those massive robotaxi rollouts we're starting to see.
So it's like they're providing the engine, and companies like Tesla are designing the car around it. And speaking of Tesla, this Cybercab of theirs, it's making waves, no doubt about it. No steering wheel, no pedals. You're basically looking at like a living room on wheels, built from the ground up for autonomous ride-hailing. It's a wild idea, but Tesla's not alone in this, are they?
Not at all. It's funny, right? The Cybercab, it's grabbing all the headlines, but behind the scenes, quietly, NVIDIA's tech is already out there, powering a whole bunch of players in the autonomous game. You've got Cruise, for instance. They're running robotaxi services already, places like San Francisco. Then there's Zoox, Amazon's self-driving project. They're using NVIDIA's DRIVE platform too. And get this, even Didi, the ride-hailing giant over in China, they're getting in on the NVIDIA action for their autonomous ambitions.
So it's not just about being the brains. It's like they're enabling this whole ecosystem of self-driving vehicles. But let's talk Tesla Cybercab for a sec. This whole driverless thing, no steering wheel, I mean, it feels like a peek into the future, but is the world actually ready for this?
It's a statement, that's for sure. Tesla's trying to change how we see cars completely. This isn't just, hey, get from A to B. This is a whole new experience they're selling. And you're right, there's the question of, is everyone on board? Our sources say governments are warming up to autonomous vehicles, but it's the public, That gut feeling, trusting a machine with your safety, that's the big one everyone's got to figure out.
It does make you wonder, will we look back at cars with steering wheels like we look at, horse-drawn carriages now? Quaint relics of the past. It's hard to say, but NVIDIA is definitely putting themselves in a good spot for this whole shift. But how does their tech actually tackle these safety concerns? You talked about all that processing power, but how does that translate into a safer drive?
It's a great question because, look, at the end of the day, safety, it's everything. Imagine this, okay? A robotaxi, it's using Nvidia DRIVE, right? Navigating a packed intersection. It's not just using one or two sensors. It's doing this thing called sensor fusion, combining data from cameras, radar, LiDAR, you name it, to build a 360-degree view of everything around it.
So it's like having eyes everywhere, constantly scanning for anything dangerous.
Exactly. But it's not just seeing, it's understanding what it's seeing. Nvidia's AI, those algorithms, they recognize objects, they can predict what those objects might do, and they make decisions super fast, often way faster and more accurately than we could as drivers. Like say someone walks into the road, boom, the system can slam the brakes, swerve, whatever it takes, and it's considering everything. Traffic flow, road conditions, all of it. These systems, they're made to be hyper-aware. They react to surprises better and faster than we can.
Okay, so the technology is there. But what about those curveballs, the what-ifs that always come up in these conversations? How can NVIDIA, how can anyone plan for the unpredictable things that happen on the road?
Ah, the million-dollar question. It's the one everyone's trying to crack. One way is to train the AI with huge amounts of real-world driving data. Expose it to everything, every weird situation. We're talking millions of miles, fender benders, crazy weather, you name it. By learning from all that, the AI gets better at predicting what might happen and how to react.
So it's constantly learning, getting better, just like we do when we drive, but on a way bigger scale.
Exactly. And the more it learns, the more reliable it gets. Those weird situations have become less and less of a problem. The thing is, there's one more wild card. Human behavior. That's a lot harder to predict.
That's true. And it brings up another big one, something our listeners wanted to know about. Public perception. Even with all the safety tech in the world, will people actually be okay getting into a car with no driver? It's a different thing entirely to trusting a computer with your life compared to like playing your music or whatever. It's a real leap of faith when you think about it, to just hand over control like that, especially when it comes to something as, I don't know, essential as getting around.
It is. And it's not even just the tech itself,
Yeah.
right? It's trusting the companies who build it, the rules around it, the whole system. Building that trust, that's huge if this is going to really take off.
And that's where things get really interesting. Because it's not just, oh, we built a better car. This is about changing how we think about transportation altogether. Like, let's say robotaxis. They're everywhere now. How does that change our cities, our routines, even how our houses look?
It's crazy to try and picture. Imagine way fewer parking lots because these things are always on the go, picking people up, dropping them off. Cities could be designed with more parks, more places for people to walk, instead of giant concrete blocks for cars. You might not even need a garage anymore. Frees up a ton of space at home, right?
So it's like a total reset on urban planning, putting people first and efficiency instead of just making room for more cars.
Exactly. And think about your commute. Instead of being stuck behind the wheel, you could be getting work done, reading, even taking a nap, all while your robotaxi deals with the traffic.
Sounds pretty utopian, I have to say. But we got to address the big one here. Jobs. If we've got autonomous vehicles doing all the driving, what happens to taxi drivers, truck drivers, delivery people? It's a real concern.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you have a technology revolution like this, some jobs, they're going to change. Yeah. But if history's any guide, this also creates new opportunities, whole new industries, new kinds of jobs, stuff we can't even imagine yet.
It's about adapting, right? Both the people and society as a whole.
That's it. It's about seeing these changes coming and being ready.
Yeah.
Support, retraining, making sure everyone's got the skills they need to thrive, even as things evolve. It's got to be about making sure this technology helps everyone, not just a select few.
So here we are, right on the edge of this autonomous future. And it's so much bigger than just the cars themselves. It's the impact on people, on how we live, on the choices we make now to shape that future.
Well said. And that's what makes these deep dives so important, I think. We dig into these complicated topics, we see the good and the bad, and hopefully it helps us make better decisions about where we go from here.
It's about asking the tough questions, looking at all sides, and, I don't know, being open to the possibilities, but carefully,
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, this driverless future, it leads us to a world that's smarter, safer, better for everyone.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up our deep dive into the world of robotaxis and NVIDIA's role in all of it. Hopefully this is giving you plenty to think about, maybe spark some of your own ideas about what the road ahead looks like. Just remember, the future of transportation, it's not a finish line, it's a journey. And like any good journey, it's best traveled with a little knowledge, a healthy dose of curiosity, and an open mind.